Today we're going to talk about two of the more common types of refinances, the home equity line of credit, otherwise known as the HELOC, and a cash-out refinance. I'm going to talk a little bit about how they work and also the pros and cons of each, but let's start with the home equity line of credit. This is a separate loan, so you will leave your existing mortgage in place, but what it does is allows you to access the equity in your home. For most institutions, they allow you to borrow up to 80% of the equity in your property. And it does operate like a credit card. So you can use as much or as little of that line of credit as you would like. And you could pay back that as quickly or as slow as you would like. And last, it is interest only. So unlike permanent financing, where you have interest and the principal, you have the ability to just pay the interest on this loan during the draw period. So one last comment about the home equity line of credit. The draw period is essentially a period of time where you can draw down on that line of credit. Usually that's somewhere around 10 years. And then after that period, you would be required to either pay off the loan, refinance it, or it would convert into a permanent financing structure at that point. Let's talk a little bit about the pros and the cons of the home equity line of credit. First of all, it's very flexible. As I was mentioning, you can spend as little or as much as you want. So it does allow you access to capital. Ease of setup is typically this can be set up very quickly with, I've heard, as quickly as a week up to 30 days, just depending on the backlog with the financing institutions. But typically it's relatively quick, and then also low cost. Normally there may be an application fee or the cost of appraisal, maybe several $100s to get that set up. And then it is very competitively priced. So if you compare to something like a personal loan, you would find that the home equity line of credit most times is going to be a more cost-effective solution as well. And it does not require a high credit score to be able to qualify. The cons on the home equity line of credit, first of all, this is an adjustable rate mortgage, which means that if interest rates go up, then the cost to you to pay back that loan will increase as well. It does subject the property to a second creditor. So if you default on your payments, then that creditor also can come and take your property. And payments will, again, increase after the draw period. So you would want to expect to have an exit strategy after that period of time. Again, whether that's refinancing it or converting it to more of a permanent financing structure. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the cash-out refinance and how that works. Now, the cash-out refinance is a new mortgage. So essentially you are closing out your existing mortgage, and you, again, similar to what I referenced with the home equity line of credit, you have the ability to access the equity in that loan, and that typically is up to 80% of the equity in the property. Now, this can work better for a longer period of time. So if your objective is to let's say you have a large project that you're working on, maybe a renovation in the home, but you plan on staying in there for at least a year, then the cash out refinance may make more sense because of the cost. And there are costs with setting up a cash out refinance, which is higher than the home equity line of credit. And it is ideal if you are in an environment where the interest rates have declined. So you have a mortgage, let's just say, for example, you had a mortgage at 5% and interest rates have gone down, and now you have the ability to refinance at 3.5% or 4%. And so that is really the best of all worlds if you have the ability to take cash out and lower your interest rate, potentially lowering your monthly payments in the process. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the pros and the cons of a cash-out refinance. Again, one of the big pros is that you have access to potentially a large amount of equity in your home. So it really is ideal for those larger spending projects and larger access to capital. It does lock in the interest rate. Again, another very important. Anytime you're financing, you want to understand what are the terms of the loan. And does the interest rate fluctuate? And so with the cash out refinance, you can lock in that. Typically, if you're using up to a 30-year mortgage, you could lock in that lower rate for that period of time. Now, on the con side, as I mentioned earlier, the cash out refinance does have closing costs, and that could be anywhere from 1 to 3% of the cost of the loan. And so it's important that you understand that you are incurring that cost in the front end, which also leads to being able to stay in that property for a longer period of time. Now, the interest expense is going to be on the full amount that you borrow. So let's just say you take a home equity line, a cash out refinance at $50,000, and you only spend $20,000, and the rest is just sitting in your bank account. You will pay interest on that full amount, even though you didn't potentially use that full amount. And so that is a disadvantage with the cash out refinance, is that you will immediately pay interest on the full amount. And a credit score is considered as part of their underwriting calculation, so that could impact the interest rate that you're receiving on the cash out refinance. So to summarize, it's important to understand, what is your objective for the money? What are you trying to accomplish? And part of that is understanding the time frame. So generally speaking, if you have a shorter time frame, a home equity line of credit may make more sense. Think 6 to 12 months out. A longer time frame may favor a cash out refinance. But again, a lot of this depends on where you are and where the interest rate environment is in. So if interest rates are going up, then and you have a very attractive existing mortgage, you may want to leave that alone and not refinance at a higher rate, and vice versa if interest rates are going down. As always, this is designed for educational purposes. Always consult a professional for any specific situations that you are incurring. Thank you.